I knew Steve for many years. I actually met him when he was selling circuit boards in plastic bags in Silicon Valley, and we kept in touch, and I wrote about him quite a bit. One thing about Steve was he never liked to predict the future unless he had something to sell. Then he was pretty clear on what the future was, and it was whatever he was selling. But he was a good businessman. But once I did get him to predict the future, and it's a little sad the way I asked him, now since he's no longer with us, but what I said was, Steve, what kind of computer will you be making when you're 75 years old? He thought about it for a second, and he said, okay. He said, well, it's going to be a tablet. He was actually working on the prototypes of the iPad then, so everything in the world would forever be a tablet. But fill in your favorite smart device here. But he said it'll be a tablet, incredibly thin, maybe even flexible, super high resolution, huge amounts of memory, gigantic connection to the cloud with broadband, lots of intelligence, voice input, voice output. He said, maybe you get it when you're 12 years old. It's your first adult computer. And you get it, you take it out of the box, and it says, hi, what's your name? And you say, oh, my name's Steve. And the computer says, Steve, pleased to meet you. And this computer becomes the absolute center of your 12-year-old life. Everything you do, homework, movies, communications with friends, everything goes through this device. Okay, maybe, back then that was quite a prediction. Maybe it's, these days, that's not so far-fetched from the digitally sophisticated 12-year-old of now. But Steve said, this is a really smart computer. So he said, the first week you've got it, you're out walking along. The computer knows you're walking because it's got GPS. So it says, Steve, where are we going? And you say, oh, I'm going to my tennis lesson. And it says, oh, do we go to our tennis lesson every Wednesday at this time? If so, I'll remind you from now on. So it begins to insinuate its way into your life as a helper or a companion. And Steve got this one right, too. If you use Cortana or Google Now or Siri, already if you open up your calendars, date books to these things, they'll begin to say things like, you better leave now for your next appointment because there's heavy traffic on the way. So Steve nailed that one too. But he didn't stop there. He said this is a really, really smart computer. So one day you're 17 years old. It's Friday night. You're up in your bedroom by yourself with your computer, and the computer says, Steve, why aren't we out tonight? And you say, oh, I broke up with my girlfriend. And the computer says, Steve, it's the third time it's happened that way. Do you want to talk about it? Now, we haven't gotten there yet, but we are on the way.